All I can do is...
You want me to be irrationally angry about that loss yesterday, Mark?
You can be whatever you want to be.
I'm going to be authentic.
I want you to be authentic. And the bottom line is I don't want to call it a big nothing burger because it was a Warrior game. So I love Warrior games. Every time that you lace them up, that's all those cliches. It's an opportunity. It matters. All of that. I promised this a week and a half ago, and I'm going to stick to it. I'm not going on the yo-yo. You can't play with my yo-yo.
Nice.
And I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to react to every game with a large sort of narrative about what it means in the larger picture of Warrior basketball. I mean, can we start with that? Didn't you expect them to lose yesterday?
Yeah, of course. It's a scheduled loss, and we've talked about this in terms of football and all the rest of it. Even in baseball, you can see some losses that are more scheduled than other ones, although baseball, you're just one swing of the bat away from maybe stealing one. When you play a 4-game road trip like that and you conclude against the best team in the association in a matinee setting against a team that is hell-bent on beating you, you're probably going to lose. And if you add in the fact that you don't have 2 starters, Podziemski is a starter now, and you don't have Wiggins, and your star is not only a little bit banged up with knee bursitis, but also he's been fatigued, and he's been a little bit erratic of late. Steiny had the stat earlier, 11 straight games where he has not shot better than 50% from the floor. All these things added up, you're going to lose that game not only 9 times out of 10, but probably 19 out of 20 and maybe 49 out of 50. It's a bad spot.
Glass half full, glass half empty kind of a conversation. I mean, I think here's a sentence that we could use a lot today. If I had, and then let's fill in the blank. If I had told you last week they'd go 3-1 on the road, you'd say?
I'll take it.
Okay.
Immediately.
If I had told you before the year started that after 29 road games, they'd won 16 of them, you'd say what?
I'll take it.
Okay.
I'll take it.
If I told you a month ago that on March 4th they'd be the 9 seed, you'd say?
I'd take it. A little more reluctantly, but yeah, I'd take it. Mm-hmm. I mean, you said a month ago?
Yeah.
When they were 3 or 4 games below 500?
They were the 12 seed, my friend. Yeah, right. They were the 12 seed.
Yeah, you take it.
Looking up at the Utah Jazz going, we got to play these guys twice in the next week and a half.
Right.
No? I mean...
No, you're right on all these, and I wish that I could maybe have a different opinion for the sake of the show so we could go back and forth on this, but 3-1 on the road trip, you're the 9 seed, you lost against a team that is really a lot better than you right now in a spot where you are probably going to lose. What do you want?
You did it. You nailed it.
Yeah?
You did it. You used the phrase.
Right now?
Right now.
Right now.
Like these narratives. And in fact, that is the larger question. The larger question is not about yesterday. The larger question is their record against good teams. What do we got? 7-23. Depends on what metric you're using. What constitutes a good team? I don't know. Is it top 6? Is it top 10?
Right.
Is it just someone who's ahead of you? Is it a team that has a player you've heard of? I don't like whatever. Whatever metric you want to use, the Warriors absolutely, and I've said this a couple of times this year, they are running the risk. It is very possible that they are this year's NBA version of the Dallas Cowboys and the Miami Dolphins, which is like you're going to go to the playoffs. You're probably going to lose pretty quickly because now you're going up against good teams. And the reason you got here is because you beat all the bad teams. And is that a problem? Oh, yeah, I guess. But you're also, when we talk about that record, you're including games in November and December and January when the Golden State Warriors were a very differently constructed basketball team. Can we all agree on that? Does that mean that now we should only look at what's gone on recently? And hell, they haven't beaten the good teams recently either. But the bottom line is I'm not going to sit here today and be like, well, they're 7-23 and 15 of those games were when Draymond was suspended, and 12 of those games were when Klay Thompson was on a mental journey.
Right.
And 8 of those games happened before Jonathan Kuminga was even getting minutes, and Brandon Pajemski was just some rookie who might be nice, and we didn't know how to pronounce his name. Those numbers include all of those teams, and this is not those teams. This is not those teams. And let me give you another one that I firmly believe. I think it's high time that we get rid of this phrase in sports, the measuring stick. It doesn't exist.
What about the litmus test?
My God, it doesn't matter. Do you want to know what Christmas night was for the 49ers?
It was a measuring stick
Measuring
game.
stick. How much did it matter?
Well, you didn't measure up.
You didn't. Did it matter?
It didn't matter.
The Ravens didn't make it to the Super Bowl. The 49ers
They didn't face the Ravens again.
They didn't see him again. Remember? Eagles, measuring stick. We need to be ready for the NFC title game. They're not going to get there. They're not going to get there. So this whole idea of yesterday was a measuring stick, it's not. Because circumstances weigh in to every single
game,
basketball game.
Always.
Every basketball game. End of a trip. Beginning of a trip. Was the plane on the tarmac in the middle of the night?
Right.
Are you healthy? Are you not? Do you know where all your teammates are? Do you not? Every single game has a completely different list of circumstances, which is why you can play Boston twice in 1 year and once beat them and once lose to them by 52. Totally different circumstances. So, is this going to sound weak? I don't really care. This is my opinion. What do I take from yesterday? Nothing. Nothing that we didn't already know.
Right.
Warriors are not as good as the Celtics.
And they're not as good as the good teams in the association.
We knew that.
Right.
But I also think they're a lot closer to them than they were 2 months ago.
Well, they're closer to them than they were yesterday. I think we can safely say that.
Yes.
If they play Boston in the NBA Finals in June, I would bet that they don't lose 4 games by 52 points apiece.
I would be thrilled that they're in the NBA Finals.
Correct.
I'd be like, this is incredible.
It would be incredible.
Can you believe that this team came out of the play-in tournament and went to the NBA Finals? It'd be amazing.
That would be beyond amazing. It would be stunning because I just did the quick math, and the Warriors against the top 4 teams in the West right now, OKC, Minnesota, Denver, and the Clippers, they are 2-14.
Right. Those teams are better than the Warriors.
Right. Boston is better than the Warriors.
However,
Milwaukee's better than the Warriors.
Yes.
And you don't have to worry about the teams in the East, but if you just look at those top 4 in the West, OKC, Minnesota, Denver, and the Clippers, the 4 of them have all been throughout all the different circumstances. Early game, with Draymond, without Draymond, Klay's on a heater, Klay is cold, Steph has good knees, Steph has bad knees, Andrew actually is around and playing basketball. All the rest of it, the Warriors are 2-14 against those teams.
Right. But we've learned this lesson, and it's fun because we're sports fans, which means by nature we're stupid and forgetful. These are 2 characteristics that most of us have, and that's okay. That's because emotion takes over those other things, and it makes us stupid and forgetful. Because the Golden State Warriors 2 years ago arrived at the playoffs and were like, this is not a championship team. But then, yes, they were. They were in April, May, and June. They weren't in any of the other months. So I just think that, the way I look at it, when you go, okay, you're 32-28, you've arrived at that moment. You've played 60 basketball games. You are 3/4 pole, essentially, of the season. You have arrived here. You are 32-28. Do you feel you're a 32-28 team? Doesn't matter. You are that. However, that record is made up of a bunch of experiences, players, moments, circumstances, and teams that are no longer you. So I don't think they're actually a 32-28 team, as evidenced by 13-4 over their last 17. So who is this team when they arrive a month from now is the question that needs to be answered. And everything that happens between now and then, because you're a veteran team, is pointed toward that. It is all pointed toward being at your best, whatever that may be. It is all pointed toward being at your best at that time. And that's also true for the Lakers. It's true for the Suns. It's true for the Mavericks. It's true for the Nuggets. Like, let's.
It's true for the Clippers. It's true for every team.
Well, yes, the Clippers. You see the teams I'm leaving out because they've never done it before. They're not veteran teams. They're like,
well, the Clippers are a veteran team.
The Clippers are,
yeah.
But they got outside of Kawhi a bunch of people who have not really had a whole lot of playoff success. I know Russell's been to the
finals.
to the NBA finals, but kind of a different role for him now. It's why I think the Kings are different this year. They're not experienced, but more so than they were last year.
Yeah,
it's a different deal, and that's really what we're waiting for. Like, look at the Nuggets, Wolves, and Thunder. Who's the best team of the three?
The Nuggets, Wolves, and Thunder?
Yeah, the top three
Nuggets.
teams. Okay.
The Nuggets are the best team.
Why don't they have a better record than the other two?
Because they haven't been as good in the regular season. And these other teams they're chasing it. And Denver is not chasing it because Denver has been there. And Denver understands that April, May, and June are greater than October through March. October through March is important because you got to put yourself in position to be a home team in the playoffs and be healthy and be ready and be rested. But Denver is coming off a title where they did what they didn't do the year before when the Warriors won the championship. They weren't healthy and they didn't have that experience. And now they have both. And so they want to keep the health and they have the experience and they understand that they're a team that can go anywhere and beat anybody. OKC and Minnesota, they're young and they're chasing it. They don't know yet.
That's exactly right. And the Nuggets have won 6 in a row. Why? Because it's March.
Yeah.
Because it's March. They're going to turn the ignition. And right now, they'd be my pick to probably get the 1 seed. Probably going to get it. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe it's Oklahoma City. I love that team.
Well, they're a half game back OKC, tied with Minnesota.
Correct.
And, the Clippers are still knocking on that door. But to that point, I don't know how much the Clippers are going to really push for the 1 seed, knowing that health is far more important than any seed.
They've understood
especially
that
in the West, as you've talked about earlier.
The whole thing is going to come down to, and it's the only reason it's kind of interesting, to be honest with you. At no point are the Warriors going to arrive in any sort of a playoff game, and they're like, so here we are. It's now April. We're actually better than Oklahoma City. You're not going to be. You're not going to be. You're still going to be older, and you're going to be more tired, therefore, and less energized by the entire process. That's already automatic. The question is playoff basketball different enough to where Oklahoma City and Minnesota are going to show that they're not quite ready and that they need a little bit more seasoning? That's possible. And because that's possible, this whole thing could be really compelling. And there are a number of teams, Warriors one of them, who could get in there and bounce around and make some noise that we didn't necessarily see coming. All of that is possible. So that's all that you're doing right now. You're positioning yourself to try to get the 6, 7, or 8 and see if you can get in the dance and mess around a little bit and kind of see what happens. And I think this last week was very positive for that.
For sure.
Nothing less.
Put yesterday aside.
Totally.
Because yesterday was going to happen in some way, shape, or form. You were going to lose that game. Now, I don't know if any of us thought they're going to lose by 50 plus. And it wasn't even that close, to be honest. But you looked at that road trip and that game and you thought, well, that one doesn't look good for them.